Hello, welcome to Inches Woods. We're going to walk today on the Boxborough Conservation Trust's land that was acquired back in 2009 and more recently just put trails on it. It's a beautiful piece of land. I think you're going to really enjoy the trip we take through it today. We'll give a little bit of history as well as we go along, some information about when Thoreau walked here in 1860 a couple of times, and some of the other ecological, geological and flora and fauna that's around. Inches Woods was a 35-acre property that was owned by people in town. After the passing of members of the family, it was went into sale. The trust purchased the 35 acres. Of that, we had to carve off 7 acres to put some houses on to actually allow us to pay for the land. Unfortunately, we weren't able to buy it in its entirety and be able to afford it. Leaving after some other sales that we did, leaving at about 25 acres left to conserve in this parcel. We've got a couple of trails on it, and in fact we're looking to put another one on, we'll talk about in a little bit. The trail to the left here of me, that goes up to Depot Road. It provides a really nice cut through from the very busy and dangerous road that Depot can be sometimes through to this parcel. It's actually really nice in that for people and kids especially who live up on Depot Road, north of Depot Road, it's a great cut through. Otherwise they would have to walk along Depot Road, out onto Joseph and Emmanuel and all the way back. It also provides a nice shortcut to get into Hagerland and even Blanchard Elementary, if any of the kids would like to walk that way. It provides some alternatives for getting off our busy roads here in town. The other trail that we have that we're going to walk on today is the trail that loops around into the Hager property. It is a lovely trail that skirts some nice wetlands, very, very pretty, and has that excellent connection into the wetlands, into the Hager land and the rest of the trails in there. Come on, Lucas. There are a number of wetlands that run through this area. A lot of these are runoff streams. I don't always see them flowing when I'm back here. Sometimes they're dry, but often they've got a little flow to them. To my left is one of the more visible areas from the trail. In fact, you can still see the blue marker that was put out to indicate that it is within the wetlands area. So there's some fairly substantial pieces of wetland in here, with, of course, all of the animals and plants that go along typically with that. This part of the trail is one of the nicest rocks that we have in the area. It is your classic, of course, New England glacial erratic, dropped here by the glaciers as they flowed through 10,000 or so, 15,000 or so years ago. Of course, like all of New England, above my head there would have been a mile worth of ice above us, and this would have been near or at the bottom of the glaciers as they came through from north to south. But just a beautiful example of a glacial erratic here on the property. It's not all just wetlands that we have here in Inches Woods. There's a fair amount of uplands as well, which is an incredibly important ecosystem for amphibians and a bunch of other animals as well. The upland areas where they come in the winter and then come the spring and into the early summer, they migrate down into the wetlands from here. Here in Inches Woods, of course, we have a great variety of trees, just as we do across most of Boxborough. We estimate these trees to be about 50 or 60 years old, so at some point this land was clear-cut, and perhaps even clear-cut before then. When Thoreau was here walking through Inches Woods, which by the way is this land and really a large part of the Hagar land as well, he described massive, towering, magnificent white oaks that were here that he hadn't really seen anywhere else. He was that amazed by them. Unfortunately, shortly after he wrote in his journal about these oaks, we think they were cut down by the Navy to provide masts for the Civil War, which of course was occurring right around that time. So apart from just walking and running and cycling and enjoying the trails back here, there are also people who geocache back here. Geocaching is well known across the US, and across the world in fact. There are hundreds of thousands of containers hidden in our woods and even in our cities, and subtly hidden away so they don't look like trash, and people log onto a website and go out and find them, just so they can get outside. The joy of trying to find something with the GPS nowadays, typically on your phone. There are 3 hidden within Inches Woods. They came up very quickly after the land was, we put the trails on the land. In fact, you can see how difficult they are to find. We're about 20 yards off the trail, I would guess, and just very subtly hidden is this geocache here. It's just a little container. It has a log in it so you can sign your name, and then when you found it you can pop onto the website and log your find. But this is the kind of thing we love to see because it means people are out there using the trails. Kids are out there enjoying trying to find things like this. It's really a great thing, and we were very pleased to see these pop up from a local geocacher who placed them on our land. This is perhaps the highest part of the land, except for maybe the part out by Depot Road. It's a very pretty piece of land. It sits above wetlands to my left, and also the big wetlands to my right, which is the same wetlands, of course, that's behind Blanchard Elementary. Most of the trees on this section up here are white pines, been growing again probably 40 or 50 years or so, and are really quite beautiful. The sunlight filtering through here is very pretty. At the moment, with the trails that we have in, this is really the only time that you cross a stream. We're here in late winter, early spring, I guess, just about, and it's this time of year where you really do see some flow through here. Other times of the year this is completely dry. Throughout this piece of land there aren't actually that many stone walls, which I guess is a little uncommon for Boxborough. We know how many crisscrosses there are. Perhaps there used to be more and they were removed, but there's not really much evidence for them. It's really mostly around the boundary of the property where we have certainly a large one that runs this way. Very pretty. We made an entrance through it because this is the end of the Boxborough Conservation Trust land as we now move into town land for the Hagar property. We're going to take you on there as well because there's a beautiful view out into the wetlands. It's almost the end of February as we're taking this video, and this is most certainly the most full I've seen the wetlands, as we have all of the rain we've had recently, but of course also the little bit of snow runoff we've had. Not a lot of snow this year. It won't be long, of course, before the amphibians start laying their eggs down there. I'm sure there'll be plenty of salamanders and frogs and everything else coming down to start their summer cycle as they need to. Just got to make sure that the ice and cold is gone, but they'll be here soon, I'm sure. So far we haven't found any evidence of Native American living on the Boxborough Conservation Trust part of Inches Woods. Perhaps if we were to look with a better trained eye, this is the kind of place where perhaps we'd see it. The Native American rock piles were typically found on hills and slopes overlooking water. That is, assuming of course the water was here that long ago. Other parts of the Hager land, on the townland over further, there is evidence of rock piles that people have noted that shows that, along with many other of the conservation areas we have here in town, that it was an important part of Native American living as the tribe was through here. We're anticipating putting another trail in here. It's going to be a little spur section that goes out across the wetlands through another beautiful piece of upland with some lovely grassland, actually, in a way, and some glacial erratics. We were lucky enough to be awarded a Youth in Philanthropy grant from the AB High School. They have a group there of kids who go out and grants are submitted, they go out, they raise money, they go through an application process to decide who gets the money, and then it's awarded. We'll be using that money to put some boardwalk in across the wetlands that we have, and also some stairs back up to Depot Road, much further along. It's a fairly steep piece of land that it joins there. It's going to be really nice because it's going to allow people to create more of a loop within Inches Woods, and also get people off of Depot Road in a section that's particularly winding and hilly and treacherous for walkers. So I'm just going to put a few flags down. Where possible, when we create new trails, we actually follow old trails that are here. It's kind of difficult to see, I'm sure, on the video, but through here is a fairly clear path that's been used throughout decades, even perhaps centuries, who knows. So we'll start this path as the beginning of the trail as we go out. It's New England and it's above freezing, so of course the ticks are out, as you'd well expect. They're part of life now, and of course unfortunately the Lyme disease and other diseases that go with it. With that said, with some decent preventative measures and checking yourself for ticks, it really doesn't become as much of an issue. I think that just dropped on my dog, so now I'll have to check my dog later. But unfortunately it's part of life, and there we go. Come on Lucas, let's go check you. Thank you for joining us today on our walk through Inches Woods. I hope it was enjoyable. It's just such a beautiful piece of land with such history, but it's also incredibly environmentally important as well. So it's one of our great pieces of land. We have a lot of them here in Boxborough, and thank you.